We are live once again on the Ourlads Football Network. It's the 2026 calendar year for the NFL Draft, and this is one of the fun times of the year, of course, for all football fans, especially fans that have seen their season go down the tank for the last several months. Of course, I'm used to that. But we're going to get right to it and talk about the first round of the NFL draft. We're going to do a mock draft, round one only. And let's introduce our two expert analysts and scouts to the show. First, Ourlads Associate General Manager, John Cooper. John, good to see you again.
Hey, good to be here. Good to be seen.
Yes, another year, and you're still here, and so are we. That's a good thing. Dave Syvertsen, also here with us. How's it going, Dave?
Very good. This is go time for the staff at Ourlads. We're really excited. John and I get to meet and talk a lot about this whole process that we start basically last summer, and now it's we're kind of in that final lap, but it's the most intense lap, and we're more than happy to do it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go through all 32 picks. John is going to take care of the defensive side, and Dave is going to take care of the offensive side. If either one wants to jump in, they can. This is only going to be pretty much a 60-minute report, and you can check out after the show. Of course, this is being done live. You can check out after the show, which most of you will be watching. We're going to have a condensed version. We'll put out shorts, all sorts of other cool stuff. And this is just the beginning. We're going to have just a monster load of draft coverage right here on the Ourlads Football Network. Check out ourlads.com. And that's what I'm going to pop up on the screen right now as we get going. So let's take a look here. Let me throw it into order. And we start here, first of all, with the number one pick. And that is most likely 99.9% positive, Dave, going to be offense. Fernando Mendoza. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about should the Raiders trade this pick. That's going to be nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the final lap of this process. There is not a quarterback within sight. You know, throughout the fall, you give guys a shot. This quarterback class has been very different than what we thought it would be last summer, but that's why we play the games, right? That's why they play the games, I should say. There's no quarterback within sight of Fernando Mendoza right now. The only question will be, do the Raiders truly love him? And he's a really easy guy to like. Everything from the pocket is done at a high level. He's tough. We saw that touchdown run against Miami. He protects the ball at a high level. He's very accurate. And to me, he checks pretty much every box. You know, he's not the sexiest athlete in the world. Some people call him a cornball in interviews. I love his leadership qualities. I think he put that Indiana team on his back. I think he's made for life in the NFL. I think his game translates to the long term. So Fernando Mendoza, if this team holds on to the number one pick, this is a no-brainer type selection.
Okay, so Fernando Mendoza goes number one. I think, again, most people believe that's what's going to happen. These quarterbacks don't come around very often, and that's why you have to grab them when you can. Next up is the New York Jets. And I know for a few months on some previous boards, John, there was some I was excited about the possibility of Ruben Bain, but I was also excited about, hey, maybe the Jets could, with that second pick, they could also get Caleb Downs. I know I'm wishful thinking, but you have Caleb Downs right here going to the Jets, and he's a safety. So I need you to explain to me, John, there's a lot of talk about safeties over the last several years. They're not considered a big deal as far as defenses in the NFL anymore. That's why Starks went so late in the draft last year. So what makes Caleb Downs so special that he could be the second pick of the draft?
Well, first of all, the Jets, they need a playmaker, whether it's in the secondary, whether it's Ruben Bain or whether it's somebody else. They need a playmaker on defense because they didn't have very many. And that's the thing. You take the best player available, and Bain may be a guy, before it's over. But Caleb Downs, the thing that's unique about him, take a look at Kyle Hamilton, how the Baltimore Ravens use Kyle Hamilton. He is a do-it-all safety that can play in the deep third, deep quarter. He can play in the, he can play halves. He can play single high. He can also move down in the box and make linebacker-like plays as an overhang player. He can blitz off the edge. I mean, he's a do-it-all safety. He's a very fluid athlete, incredible quickness and agility that can absolutely make plays across the field. He's a difference maker, and that's what the Jets need. He can play in a variety of alignments, as I said. He's equally effective in the box, on a slot, or deep safety. He's excellent cover and ball skills. He's got a tremendous burst, reacting with the ball in the air. And the thing that I like and I look for in safeties, number one, is can he balance and react to multiple routes while reading the quarterback? Coming from a quarters alignment, coming from even a deep half, he is very aggressive filling running lanes, solid tackling skill. He tracks well. He's 6 feet tall, 205 pounds, and this is a super football player. In fact, I'd call him a generational safety. He's in that same mold, not as big, but in the same mold as a Kyle Hamilton.
Okay, we're going to stick with you, John, here for pick number 3. That's the Arizona Cardinals. And I got to have, again, another question regarding Arvell Reese is if he's not an edge rusher and he's just an off-ball linebacker, and I know he's not, that's why you're here, I think there'd be a lot of people who look and go, off-ball linebacker at number 3?
Well, here's the thing. We talked last year about Jalen Walker, and I was not, as high on Jalen Walker as a lot of people. He's a guy who moved to off-the-ball linebacker, and that was the primary thing that he did. But he was drafted more as an edge rusher, and that made more sense. And so the way I see Reese is if they would have used him on the edge, he would have been a terrific edge rusher. He's got a lot to learn before he becomes that guy. But they need a playmaker, whether it's an off-the-ball linebacker or not. The off-the-ball linebackers, you're getting a Roquan Smith-type player, and then you combine that with the ability to rush the passer. You've got something. They can move. They can use this guy as a Swiss Army knife. The Cardinals have a lot of needs, but you can't pass up a playmaker, and that's what this guy is. Whether he's off the ball or whether he's on the edge, he's a playmaker. They can use him in multiple roles. They can line him up all over the front, off the ball. He can play overhang. He's got good cover skills. He's got tremendous burst, tremendous reaction. He's naturally instinctive inside, and he locates the ball. He's got long arms. He's got violent hands. He can stack and shed as well as slip blocks on the move. He's a solid pass rusher coming off the edge. He's got a burst. He needs work on some technique because right now he's just one of those run, bend, and go type guys, and that's what he is. If they drill him in the combine, he's going to do really good on those pass rush drills, as far as being able to bend and turn the corner. And he's got decent speed to power as well. The kid is 6'4", 243 pounds. He's got a really good frame on him, and he's a playmaker, a flat-out playmaker, and that's the kind of guy you need in your defense. And he's going to go high, whether the Cardinals take him or not. I believe he's a solid prospect that you can use in multiple ways.
Next up is the aforementioned Ruben Bain. I mentioned not too long ago, the Tennessee Titans at number 4, John.
Well, again, there's 3, I think, super defensive players and probably some more that, could go at any one of these spots. So I wouldn't be surprised to see these players all flipped. And Bain, for a while we had him as our top player in the draft, and then after thinking about it a little bit, we kind of changed the metric, if you will, based on who is the best playmaker. But you could really flip a coin or draw straws, and you wouldn't be wrong of these 3 guys. But the thing about Bain, the Tennessee Titans need upgrades just like the other ones. They need him throughout the roster. They're just simply taking the best defensive player available. Kid's got a thick build to go with strong hands. He's got a really good power, quickness, and speed. The thing I love about him, he's a natural knee bender that can set the edge, play, and make plays against the run. He's also athletic enough to redirect blocks and chase to the perimeter. So he's going to be able to play the run really well too. His snap quickness is tremendous. He's got a really good arsenal of pass rush moves, and he's got speed and bend to turn the corner. I love the knee bend. I love the technique. Not only that, you can move him down inside, and you can take advantage of some matchups against guards, and you can use him as an end tackle stunt guy or a tackle end stunt guy. Tech stunts, exit stunts, whatever you want. He's very good at this stuff, and he's very advanced. 6'3", 275 pounds. He can play in multiple schemes, and he's going to be I believe this is going to be a great football player in the NFL.
Okay, but you do feel pretty confident right now that if you're just gonna decide on who are the 4 picks of the 2026 draft, that these 4 players have a good chance of being those 4 in whatever order.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Next up, let's talk some offense. So let's bring in Dave. And Dave, the New York Giants. Now, I don't know. This might be a little bit surprising to me. Of course, Neighbors is, he's got the potential to be a star. And I was just speaking to Ryan Dudley of the New York Post about the Giants' needs recently. And he did put a wide receiver in there if they don't resign Wan'Dale Robinson. But he also says one of the main things they have to do is they have to stop the run. They got to figure out how to stop the run on defense. That is the number one priority. But wide receiver was definitely in the mix. And they also have to sign a Luminor. And if they don't, maybe offensive tackle is also in there. So why do you think Tyson would be a good fit with the Giants?
Well, year 2 of Jackson Dart's career, this operation needs to be about supporting him. I think that's first and foremost. I agree with the run defense. It's like Swiss cheese. There's holes all over the place. I agree that the offensive line is a little unstable long-term at right tackle because you don't know really what Marcus Bowe can be after his rookie year out of Purdue as a 5th-round pick, and you don't know if Jermaine Illuminor will be resigned. But you have 2 routes you can take to support Jackson Dart. You can use the Chicago Bears model, meaning try to build the offensive line with veterans, especially on the interior, and then draft playmakers. Luther Birding, Colston Loveland, those guys were both early picks for the Bears, and they were key parts to that passing game in Caleb Williams' second season. You could go the New England Patriots route and draft the lineman and use your veteran free agency money on a Stephon Diggs type at wide receiver. So to me, they have to put the tools around Jackson Dart to reach his upside, especially during this rookie contract era. And my guess is that they're going to go playmaker if Jordan Tyson can prove that he is healthy enough. He does have an ACL in his history, broken collarbone, a hamstring injury that did get re-aggravated during the season. And Malik Neighbors, he might not even be ready for week 1 this year. But to me, this gives them another Neighbors-style receiver. If you take the injury situation out of it, I think his best tape is better than all the wide receiver in this class. The ability to snap his routes off, the ability to make plays on the ball down the field, and to make things happen after the catch. He's kind of like that jack of all trades, does everything at a high level. And I personally like having him as a hedge. If Malik Neighbors does have a hard time getting back, you still have that dynamic player there on the outside. And even if they re-sign Wan'Dale Robinson, it's not enough. I said this last year before they re-signed Darius Slayton. He's not the answer. You need multiple playmakers. Right now, the Giants could make a case they only have 1 in Malik Neighbors in the passing game. You need 3 or 4 for this young quarterback.
Do you think he is definitely going to end up as the number 1 receiver in the draft?
The medicals are gonna weigh that in. I mean, I think the top 3 or 4 receivers are very closely stacked. I think it's going to be based on who's making the pick and what they're looking to add to their particular offense. The medicals will be big. You know, we're not going to disclose every single little bit of information on that. That's just not what we do here. But if he can get a clean bill of health from the medical staff in whatever NFL draft room, I do think he's the best pure receiver in the class.
Okay, speaking of wide receivers, we go right back to one with the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns just found a coach in Todd Monken. So what about the Browns going after Carnell Tate, Dave?
The Cleveland Browns, their hole at wide receiver, in my opinion, is the biggest in the league. Jerry Jeudy led the wide receivers in 17 games, by the way, with just 50 catches. So he wasn't even averaging 3 catches per game. The next highest at wide receiver was Cedric Tillman with 21 catches. So the wide receiver production is at an all-time low. Part of that is what they've dealt with at quarterback. Part of that is what they had to deal with of the offensive line, but they don't have pieces at receiver. I don't think the long-term future quarterback is on that roster. And right now you want to kind of build the support system and have it ready to go once they get that guy in here. Tate is a very polished, NFL ready, and he is elite at multiple things. Not one drop all year, and his contested catch rate and what he can do down the field in traffic, the awareness and footwork near the boundaries. We're talking T. Higgins type. That's the name that keeps coming to my mind when I watch him, is T. Higgins back at Clemson. And I would sign for that in the top 10 in this draft in particular.
Yeah, especially with his size. That is a enticing prospect for sure. All right, next up is we're going to go to number 7, and what's popping? The Washington Commanders. John, you're back, and you've got the Washington Commanders going with an edge rusher.
Well, Washington is a team that's really dropped off a cliff. Because of injuries this past season. Their pass rush wasn't very good. It's a defense that finished, if I'm not mistaken, as far as points allowed, they were very low. And across a ton of metrics, Washington's defense needs help. They've got some free agent possibilities. I'm not going to get into the specific players, but Bailey is a pass rusher, and teams need the ability to get to the quarterback. And I would also say that teams need defensive interior defenders, and sometimes they're the most overlooked guys as far as rushing the passer. And if you could find one of those guys, that's who you should be taking. But there just aren't those guys in this draft. So the next best thing then is to get somebody that can come off the edge and is a highly productive edge rusher. Now, Bailey is, as we've said, climbed up the charts this year because he's a terrific pass rusher. But the other thing is he can play the run now. He's not great. He's improved. He's 6'3", 250, solid tackler. He can play in space. He didn't do a really good job early on in his career as a run defender. For the most part, he was a situational rusher. And now he's, he can play every down. He's at his best as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he's got enough size that he can play in a 4-3. And he can be effective. He can drop in coverage. He can play overhang. He's a terrific athlete. He's got extreme snap quickness. He's got great bend. Coming around the corner, he's got a variety of pass rush moves. He uses hand swipes very well. He's got a nice little chop move. He's got a rip move. And we think as a pass rusher, just take a look at the productivity. Texas Tech obviously was very good. They had some good defensive linemen, some good guys on the edge. This kid is a good player. And I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. I didn't think this maybe a month ago, but in evaluating and stacking, we've got him up there now. And we think he's a guy that has a chance to, really be a quality NFL pass rusher and more.
Let's switch back over to the offensive side and talk about running back. And it's very rare nowadays for running backs to get drafted in the top 10. When they do get drafted in the top 10, Dave, it's usually because they have superstar potential. And that is exactly what Jeremiah Love has. I was speaking with Darian Gray from whodatdish.com a few weeks ago about the Saints' top needs. And he felt that not that they're going to pick a guard early, but that is definitely where they're going to have to find some upgrades this offseason. Also on the edge, he believes they need a couple of guards, a couple of edge rushers, but he also believes they need that number 1 running back. And Jeremiah Love to the Saints, I'm sure the fans would love that in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen Moore comes from the Philadelphia Eagles, who probably don't win the Super Bowl without Saquon Barkley. And Alvin Kamara, who's had a really fine career with that team, he's on the wrong side of 30 now. And that's usually where a lot of decision makers in the NFL start to get a little unstable with their running backs. And he's averaging under 4 yards per carry over the last 5 seasons. He's on a steady decline. They had to keep him on the roster. They paid him. They owed him a lot of money. But just for reference, guys, there were 40 backs in the NFL who averaged more than 4 yards per carry this year. That's a very low number to be living around for that long of a time. Jeremiah Love is the kind of running back that changes how you play offense. I mean, the kid's got 11 touchdown runs of 45-plus yards over the past couple of years. Nobody in this draft class is even at half of that. I mean, he is a home run hitter, but you don't have to give him 25 carries a game. That's one of the risks of drafting running backs very high is the high injury rate. But you can give this guy 15 carries a game and give him, 5 to 7 targets in the passing game. And he's going to break off an explosive play. And that's what the NFL seems to be chasing now are these explosives. And he is the most explosive running back we've probably have seen since Bijan Robinson. And, love or hate the concept or the strategy of drafting running backs this high. I'm a believer if it fits what you currently have on the roster. The offensive line is a group that's getting a little bit better, a little bit younger. They're going to be better in a year or two. They have the quarterback and Tyler Shuck. This is a really good situation to put Love into.
Yeah, that would be a nice combination too with Neal. Get that physical running back that can break tackles like Neal, and then Love to spell him. Obviously, Love would be number one, obviously, but that'd be a nice combo. Okay, we've got defense now on the next 4 selections. So let's go right back to the board, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Who would have thought the Kansas City Chiefs, John, would be drafting number 9?
You took the words right out of my mouth. The interesting thing there is, if you look at what happened to them, obviously injuries were a big factor, with the Chiefs this year, but their defense did fall off. And, Steve Spagnuolo is a guy that likes to play a lot of guys. He likes multiple concepts on his defense. He likes the blitz. He likes people that are athletic coming off the edge. He likes guys that can drop off in coverage once in a while coming off the edge. He's been blessed with a guy like Chris Jones that he could move around. He was a terrific inside pass rusher that really helped the pass rush. He's getting long in the tooth, and I know that they would love to have another interior defender, but they're not going to draft one this high, that's for sure. So they're definitely looking for somebody that can get to the quarterback, off the edge, at least play in a rotation. They still got some talent there. Karlaftis is a big kid that can play, but they still need help. They fell off in that area, and teams were able to throw on them because they had a lot of time to throw. And they need help other places too, but the best player available in our minds would be an edge rusher because it's a good year for those guys. And Cassius Howell is a guy that fits the rotation. They got their pick of several quality guys, and Howell is just one of them that they could take at this spot. But we like him because he's tall, he's lengthy, he can take on blocks, he can separate, which is something they like. He's a chase player. He can cover a lot of ground, pursuing from the backside. He's an effective pass rusher with his hand in the dirt. He could play 3-4 outside linebacker, which is not the Chiefs' defense, but they like rotational guys, and this is probably the best pure pass rusher after the guys that have gone off the board that's left. Snap quickness and his set of pass rush moves are NFL style. He's still developing, but the upside is there to be a terrific pass rusher. And so we think this guy makes sense, but some other guys could make sense too.
Quick question. Either of you guys can jump in here and answer this one. That is, if one of the wide receivers, or if Love is on the board, do the Chiefs seriously consider taking one of those guys, knowing Andy Reid and the way the offense seems to be struggling a bit? Do you think he goes after an offensive weapon here?
It's a possibility. Anything's possible, But for our,
what do you think he would prefer? Let me just throw it out. Do you think he'd prefer a receiver like a Tate or a running back like Love?
Well, if it was me, it'd be a running back like Love.
Okay. All right. John, next up.
Because it's hard to find those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, John, we'll stick with you here. We've got the Miami Dolphins.
We got Cincinnati.
Oh, Cincinnati. That's right. Cincinnati Bengals. Excuse me. Cincinnati Bengals are next at number 10.
Okay, thank you. You threw me off there for a second. Well, Cincinnati Bengals for the last couple of years, they've needed help on defense. They got one guy, Hendrickson, a great pass rusher, but they don't have anybody else. Their linebacker core has, had issues with injuries, and the play hasn't been the best. Bottom line is they're not getting to the quarterback consistently enough to help that back end. They've finished near the bottom in several defensive categories, and they could certainly use help all over. I could see them taking a corner too. But the pass rusher that's there, the defensive end, fits what they like to do. So Kendrick Falk would be a nice pick for them from Auburn, 6'6", 285 pounds. He fits well as a 5 technique, but he can stuff the run, but he can play anywhere from a wide 9 down to a 3. So he's got some versatility at 285 where he can play inside. He's more of a pressure guy than he is a sack guy, but he's got enough technique and enough stuff that he can do, including we love the push-pull move that he uses to get around the tackle, especially when he's in a 5 alignment. With some refinement, I think this guy can be a great kind of a Ruben Bain type player. He's not there yet by any means, but you can kick him down inside. You can stunt with him. I think this is a guy that he's not for everybody, but I think he's a guy that can upgrade any defensive line room, and he can be used in multiple ways, and he can be moved around. Like I said, he needs some refinement as far as technique is concerned, as far as escaping blocks a little quicker. But he's got some push, he's got some power, and he's got some speed. And I want to see some of the numbers out of the combine and some of the GPS numbers too overall. But I like him a lot as far as that type of player, and I think he's a nice fit for Cincinnati. So that's why we've got him there. That may not be who they take, because there's a lot of different ways they could go. But for right now, we like that. We like that pick.
Yeah, but even though there's a lot of ways they can go, most of them will be on defense for sure. And you would think that an edge rusher in this particular draft would make a lot of sense. Now let's talk about potentially the top cornerback off the board. And now we go to the Miami Dolphins here, John. And it could be a player who didn't even play this past season.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But he was so good in 2024 that, we're not going to punish him, for not playing this year. I mean, he did work out. He did practice. That's the weird thing. They kept saying, hey, you might be back. He could be back. He practiced this week. We're optimistic that he's going to play. And he never did. And I guess it got to the point where they felt like it wasn't worth it. He's coming out in the NFL next year. And I'm not sure what went into that decision finally, but it looked for a long time like he was going to play. The Miami Dolphins secondary was not very good. I saw him play once this year, a couple times this year, and watched some film. And they could use every position on secondary, and they need help as far as their sub packages as well. So they need an influx of talent, and they're going to have to do some things in free agency too, I feel. McCoy is still the best corner on the board. If you look at his 2024 season and what he did, if he comes back off that ACL, which there's no reason to believe he wouldn't, because he was practicing and doing well from all accounts. Incredible cover skill, both man and zone. He's a smart, high IQ corner. He can play a wide variety of techniques, including deep outside zone coverage, hard corner, off and press man. Any scheme, he's going to be good. Incredible ability to mirror route breaks when he's playing man-to-man, and is covering deep outside zones, whether it's quarters, whether it's deep third. He balances overlapping zones with precision. And when the ball's in the air, he can react. Very good ball skills. He would be a guy that I would say could be a top 10 pick. But he could go lower than what we're talking, simply because people haven't seen him. But if you just go back to the 2024 tape, excellent football player.
Okay. And is there also a possibility? And again, I know I just asked you about a possibility, and you'll probably answer it that way. But what kind of possibility could be that he could slide because of the injury situation?
Well, it depends on what the medicals show. There's no reason for us to believe, from what we've seen, that the medicals are going to show anything but a clean ACL, and he's back.
Okay.
The fact that he was practicing, and if he wasn't practicing, if we hadn't seen him, we didn't see him, but if we didn't know that he was practicing and he was looking good, and they felt he was pretty close to being ready to come back, I don't know what went into the decision not to play him completely. But everything we've got is that he's good. But hey, if he slips, there's information that we don't have access to, and it could happen because we just don't know for sure.
The Dallas Cowboys are next on the board at number 12. And speaking to RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com a couple of weeks ago, he said that the team definitely, the top 4 needs are all on defense. Cornerback is a top 2 need for sure, as is a linebacker and a safety. You have another cornerback going right off the board here, John.
Yeah, best player available, type thing too. But yeah, I could see a linebacker, but that's a little high usually for linebackers, as we've talked. Just strictly an off the ball linebacker. There's a good one available that could go pretty high in Sonny Styles, and they definitely need that guy. They need a guy on the edge too. Still, and they're going to take somebody on the edge for sure somewhere along the line in this draft, and it could be here. I'm not sure there's anybody in our minds that values that high because some of the top guys are gone. But hey, a guy like a Mesidor or somebody like that could fly up the charts. So anything can happen, but they need help on defense, period, at all levels. And what you just said was absolutely correct. We've talked to some people in the organization, and they're going defense. It would be a big upset if they didn't. A new defensive coordinator, Christian Parker, who they're really, really high on. And they want to do some things to help him be successful because the last two defensive coordinators were not very successful. And a lot of it had to do with the talent that they had on the field. And again, 3 coordinators in 3 years, let's help this guy succeed. And that's what we're trying to do by drafting on defense. Delane should be an immediate starter. If he's the guy they take. Excellent footwork. He's got real good mirror ability as far as reacting to route breaks. So one of the things I like about him is how easily he flips his hips in transition as routes are extended. He has the speed to stay with speed. He's a very good zone-aware corner. He can balance multiple routes. He's got good feel for what the quarterback's intentions are, and he reads delivery keys really well. Good tackler, and he's got range to make plays across the field. He's good size at 6 foot, 190. We like him. We think he's a multiple asset corner that can do a lot of things, and so he would make a good pick for Dallas in our minds.
All right, John, your time is up for now. You'll be back in a couple of minutes as we turn our attention finally back to offense. Dave, the LA Rams, they get the pick from the Atlanta Falcons. I think they're pretty happy with their move to give up their first-round draft pick. Pierce had a phenomenal rookie season, so that seemed to work out. And the LA Rams get the 13th pick, which is a huge deal for them as well. And this is where you believe they're going to turn back to offense at wide receiver.
Yeah, all the talk, Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, those guys have earned it. But Mekhi Lemon, I'm telling you this right now, there's going to be a few teams that have him as number 1 receiver in this class. His tape there's a lot of special traits that he has, and it's actually an ideal fit for what the Rams like to do at receiver. And this is even if Davante Adams comes back in 2026. We know Sean McVay in an ideal world runs a lot of 11 personnel. This year they ran a lot of 12 with the abundance of tight ends that they have. Tyler Higbee is a free agent this year. Is Colby Parkinson really a long-term answer for that passing game? You get Lemon back in here and pair him with Nakua and Davante Adams. You're back, humming in the 11 personnel. This is a guy that had 31 plays of 20-plus yards the past 2 years. That's 2 years. That's the 5th most in power forward. He didn't even basically play in all of 2024. He was kind of like a part-time player for most of the season there, and then he just broke out towards the end of the year. He's got 27 plays of 10-plus yards after the catch. Again, another offense that is pretty simple, and they want these guys to make plays with the ball in their hands. And to me, Lemon, who's kind of like a aggressive running back type guy with the ball in his hands, he breaks a lot of tackles, a lot of yards after contact. To me, he can run every single route. Some of the catches that he made in traffic this year, I mean, you just can't believe what he's doing at 5'11", 190, 195. So to me, this is a week 1 starter that can play the slot. He can play outside. And you know what? He could probably return some punts, which the Rams are definitely going to be looking into this offseason. So this is kind of like an easy pick for me. They have another first to really invest elsewhere in the roster. Let's get that passing game back to the top. And I think that's what Mekhi Lemon does.
Okay, John, you're back. Let's talk some defense again with TJ Parker and the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, the Ravens have a lot of guys going to be free agents, and the 2 of their edge rushers, Draymond Jones and Kyle Van Noy, are somewhat long in the tooth. Van Noy is for sure, but and so it's going to be really interesting to see. I guess Van Noy signed a extension. But they've got Draymond Jones, and they were not productive in the pass rush. So part of that, a big part of that, was Matabike's injury, and we don't know whether Matabike is going to be back or not. They need help at guard too, so we could talk about a guard there, but they definitely need to upgrade. What's going on the edge, and they need somebody that's again, I don't know for sure what Minter is going to do on defense there, if he's going to change to a 4-3. They've got 3-4 personnel as far as their base defense, and TJ Parker fits either way, and so he's a safe pick for them. The only thing is Parker didn't have a very good season this year, but he still has upside. He's got a high motor, but that motor, kind of ran out of gas a little bit this year, and I'm not sure why. But either way, he's got the athleticism you look for. We're watching a little bit of the Senior Bowl and practices, and he's flashing very well. He can play from a 2 or 3 point stance. He can drop in flat coverage, so he fits a 3-4 well as far as a base. He can stack and shed playing the run, and he can chase down ball carriers from the backside. He's got a powerful bull rush into a move with a variety of swipes and counters. And, one of the reasons he wasn't that successful this year is the overall Clemson defense didn't play that well. And he draws a lot of attention. He got a lot of chips, from backs, tight ends. And so he draws a lot of attention. So that's part of the reason he wasn't successful. But you have to be able to overcome that stuff. And but we still think he's a talent, and we still think he's got a shot to be a first-round pick, although some of the pundits are dropping him out. And, we don't know in our evaluation how that's going to all shake down. But he's a prospect. And, and again, depending upon what the Ravens are going to do on defense, they could opt for a different edge rusher here as well. Someone that's a little bit down the line.
Okay, we'll stay on defense with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. James Yarshow from Locked On Bucks podcast told me last week that there are a couple of positions that they're going to be high on in the draft. Number 1 is edge rusher, and number 2 is inside linebacker. And that's exactly where you believe Tampa Bay could go here with their pick.
Yeah, this is a unique player. He's a former safety that's got size of a edge rusher. It's and he's got good cover skill. But the Bucs defense did not hold up in key situations this past season, and the need for a playmaker, I think, is really important. Somebody that can make plays against the run and the pass. So edge rusher would be good, and I could see a guy like Mesidor, somebody like that going there, or one of the other edge rushers. But I think this is the best player available for what they want, for what they need. He's an every down player. He's got he can transform a defense. He's one of those guys that's got great tools. He's versatile. He's got great cover skills. The funny thing is, he wasn't that good in coverage for part of the season this year. And part of it was coming from safety, where you're playing either overhang or you're coming downhill, and you've got a completely different look as a coverage player than you are from off the ball inside taking pass drops. And so he had some problems with everything behind him, getting underneath, feeling zones, reading coverages, having his head on a swivel. He tended to get a little too focused on one thing. But as the season progressed, oh my gosh, he got better and better and better. And watching tape late in the season, he was terrific. He can also play overhang, and he can rush the passer. You can blitz him, and he's going to be effective. And he also can stack and shed. He's really gotten better at that. And, I really like what he's done as a football player. And he covers a lot of ground in pursuit. And he's got the upside of an elite 3-down linebacker.
Yeah, it looks like Levante David might retire, and that makes this need definitely front and center stage. Let's now talk about offense again with pick number 16. So, Dave, you're back. And as a Jet fan, obviously as a quarterback, I'd understand this pick. But I'll be honest with you. I think I'd prefer them to draft something else here defensively, and then use a later pick on a quarterback like a Chambliss, a Nussmeier, a Jualler. I'm not really that high on Ty Simpson, but where Ty Simpson gets picked here makes a lot of sense considering how desperate the Jets are for a quarterback.
Yeah, macro level, we could see a quarterback class being very similar to what we saw last year. We see someone go number 1 overall, and then it's just kind of a waiting game for the next guy. Maybe someone makes a move up somewhere on the back half of the first round, like the Giants did with Jackson Dart last year. But to me, with Ty Simpson, he started to flash a little bit early in the year, and he did start to go backwards, but you have to throw in the lack of experience as a factor there. I personally, if I had any weight in his decision, I would have said definitely go back to school. But who knows if he even would have been the starter on that team next year. They have a young kid coming up that I think has a little bit more talent long-term. We started to see it in the Rose Bowl towards the end of the game. But to me, Ty Simpson, there are a lot of traits to his game that translate to the NFL. He's an accurate passer. He's got really quick feet. He's tough. It started to fall apart as that offensive line really started to falter late in the year. And this is an ideal situation for him, that he's going to come in. He's not going to see the field in 2026. And Aaron Glenn in year 2, you have to give something. You have to hold on to something that's going to give you a job in 2027, because let's be honest, it's not going to be pretty this upcoming season yet again for the Jets fans, but they are set up for the future with a lot of draft capital coming their way from the drafts, from the trades of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. But this is a guy that I do think has it between the ears. And that to me is probably one of the most important traits you can ask of a quarterback. And he is physically talented. There are things he does better than Fernando Mendoza. But again, he just did not get the reps in college. And taking a pick like this, it does not exclude you from the draft market in next year's draft if you're sitting at number 1 overall. This is a guy that I believe you keep pumping quarterbacks into your system until you find the guy, because you're not going anywhere in the NFL without one. So now you're just kind of kicking the can down the road if you avoid taking a Ty Simpson at this point. And to me, Trinidad Chambliss, Drew Allard, Nussmeier, none of those guys really project who's starters in the NFL, in my opinion. Ty Simpson still has that label on him. So why not bring that guy in the building, see what you have for a year, and then you can kind of reevaluate where you are after the 2026 season.
Is Simpson a lock to be the second quarterback picked?
I think so. I don't think anyone's going to – I know there's a lot of talk about Chambliss. I'm 5-6 games in on him now. There's a lot to him that just screams, system quarterback, kind of a backyard quarterback. Ty Simpson to me is light years ahead of him when it comes to the mechanics and just the understanding of the position. So I would put money on the fact that Simpson will be QB2 in this draft.
Okay, I just want to just a quick message. The Ourlads draft guide, this is last year's draft guide, of course. The Ourlads 2026 draft will be out soon in the next couple of months. So make sure to get your order in now. We have a link in the description of this video where you can order it. So make sure you do that and you're ahead of the game. And we have another half of picks to go. So we've got to pick up the pace here. So let's go ahead and get right back to it. We have pick number 17, Dave. So Dave, you'll stay here for another couple of picks and talk a couple of offensive linemen first at number 17.
Yeah, Spencer Fernot to the Lions. The Lions, to me, they've kind of lost their way a little bit. Kind of what made them a special kind of, bite your kneecaps type system where they just kept on investing in the offensive line. And Spencer Fernot, to me, I know he's a tackle, but I do think his tape says he can play inside if they had to, at least for a year or two. Go the Tyler Smith route where, hey, you start off at guard, we'll eventually move you out to left tackle when Decker is done there, which could be soon. It could be in the next year or two that he's out because he's just getting a little too expensive, and I think his game is starting to go south. But to me, Fernot is probably the best offensive lineman in this draft. He probably has the highest ceiling. It is a surprise to see him fall down this far in this draft. But to me, this just returns Detroit's back to the roots of, hey, let's control the line of scrimmage. We have all the accessory pieces on offense, but if we can't control the point of attack, there's no point in investing in Jamison Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and Jared Goff. So to me, offensive lineman is the way to go, and I think Fernot's the best one.
Yeah, I just spoke to Jeff Risdon regarding the Detroit Lions yesterday, the Detroit Lions podcast, and that's up front for sure. Where the Detroit Lions, he believes, are going to invest in all three positions, actually, on the offensive line. Okay, Minnesota's up next. You've got another offensive lineman going.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get J.J. McCarthy to stay on the field for Minnesota. And the number one way to do that is to protect him. And, there's things that he has to do as a quarterback to develop. And this is a little bit of a questionable pick in that they spent the first round pick on a first round guard in Donovan Jackson last year. But Maui Noah is he's a tackle at Miami, likely to move inside. He's the kind of guy that can be an all-pro caliber guard. I mean, I watched a lot of him over the past few weeks with them getting so far into the season. And yes, there are some ugly balanced body control losses, but his footwork, his power, his ability to move in tight spaces, I actually think you protect him by moving him inside, and you kind of lose some of that ugly tape that we saw out in space. This is a guy that changes the personality of an offensive line day one. It protects J.J. McCarthy, and Kevin O'Connell wants to be able to run the ball. They want to control the clock. They want to control the point of attack. This guy does that at a high level.
Okay, John, you're back with a couple of picks. We've got number 19 right now. So let's talk about Carolina.
Well, Carolina's got some, several players in that linebacker room, backups and starters that are guys that, play are part of their scheme that are going to be free agents. They need an off-the-ball linebacker that can come in right now and play. At one point, C.J. Allen, we felt was our top linebacker, but some other guys have kind of passed him up. But he's not one to forget because you watch him. He's got a very good football IQ and very good read and react. Very patient, takes precise angles to the ball. Good lateral movement, change of direction. I love the way he maintains leverage on backs when a play moves outside, backside, hip of the ball, and he can make plays right now in the alley. Very good range, very good tackler, and he's really improved his zone cover skills, but he can play man-to-man. He's got good speed. I'm interested to see some of that stuff at the combine. I see some GPS speed, and it's very good. I mean, this is a guy that, is an off-the-ball backer, but he is probably the best player available, in the draft at this point from what we're seeing. And again, there's a long way to go on these evaluations, but we really like C.J. Allen, and we think he's a good pick for the Panthers.
Okay, next up, we've got number 20, the Dallas Cowboys, part of the Micah Parsons trade. So right back on defense.
Well, and again, we talked a lot about the other pick, what Dallas's situation is, so I won't belabor the point. But Akeem Mesidor is somebody that, could go higher, he could go lower. He's a guy that has really climbed the draft boards this year, as part of a terrific Miami defensive line. And they're going to continue. The Cowboys, I'd be very surprised if they don't use both of these picks on defense. And getting a guy on the edge is critical with the trade last year. And this is the next best player in our mind. We love the suddenness at the snap. We love the pop with his hands, the way he gets extension. He's another guy that can kick down inside and if need be, but he's pretty much been an edge rusher, and he's been terrific. Very good range. He's got very good technique. He does a lot of things with cross chops. He does a lot of things with arm under. The thing I love is my favorite move of his is a bull rush into an arm under, and he can bend. He can turn the corner. And he's a good player. The only thing that worries me a little bit is that when he gets out there in space chasing, sometimes he misses. He's got a little higher missed tackle rate than I like, but we're going to have to clean that up, and I think that can be done. I think that's something that you're not necessarily going to draft him for. You're drafting him to rush the passer in the NFL, and I think he's going to be really good at that.
All right, Delane and Mesidor to the Cowboys in our mock draft, our first one. All right, now, Dave, you're going to be here for the next 4 picks, all offense, starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, Denzel Boston is a size and strength fit for the Mike McCarthy offense. I know you're looking at DK Metcalf and saying, hey, they just traded away George Pickens. To me, Denzel Boston is not the explosive downfield threat that Metcalf is, but he's the chain mover. 77% of his catches went for a first down or touchdown over the past 2 years. I have all these numbers on all these receivers. I don't think anyone is going to match that. I still have a few more to do, but he's number 1 in this draft class, and percentage of his catches moving the chains or scoring a touchdown. And I'll tell you what, watching his tape, there was some really bad quarterback play this year, and he still produced at a high level. To me, this is a really good complement to what that passing game is going to need. Because they have these short, shifty slot receivers that none of them can really stick whether it's a re-signed Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson, who I liked a lot coming out of Michigan. This gives these guys two really big physical targets that can do a few different things for that offense.
Okay, next up, number 22, the LA Chargers. And we know what the Chargers' biggest issue was. Of course, had a lot to do with injuries, but still, this is Jim Harbaugh we're talking about. So back to the offensive line it goes. Is that the deal?
Yeah, I mean, John Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel now, who is a run game coordinator by trade. And to me, this is the best pure interior offensive lineman in the class. Maui Noah that we talked about going to Minnesota, he's kind of a hybrid inside-out guy. This could end up being a top 15 pick. He is that good. The last time he allowed a sack in pass protection was week 10 of 2023. So he's not just a road grader. The guy can move. If you watch Penn State football, you would see they would motion a guard across the line on trap blocks. That was what this kid did. And this kid can really move. He's a very comfortable moving athlete. You put McDaniel into that situation. I mean, that offensive line, the injuries they suffered, that was what really derailed their season. It got Justin Herbert banged up. Omari and Hampton never really got off the ground. But if you insert this kid into that offensive line, Joe Alt, Rashawn Slater come back, you're talking about a whole different brand of football in Los Angeles.
Okay, we'll stick on offense with the Philadelphia Eagles and the first tight end off the board and most likely the only tight end off the board in the first round.
Yeah, there are a couple guys that are in the discussion. They're more top 45 type picks. But again, if an offensive team really likes guys like Michael Trigg and Eli Stowers, you could see them go towards the end. But to me, I think Kenyon Sadiq has been tight end one in this class since the summer. He did nothing but kind of reinforce that this season. If you took the top 10 catches by every tight end in the country, this kid's got 5 of them. And we're talking down the field, explosive plays in traffic, extending the ball away from his body. He blocks his butt off too. That doesn't get talked enough about in regard to his game. He can actually be a run game weapon, dominates guys at the second level. He's just an absolute freak athlete. The name Evan Engram comes to mind a little bit, but I think he's a little bit more physical. I watched a lot of Evan Engram when he was with the Giants, and he was never a good blocker. He got manhandled. Sadiq will not be that. So to me, what is the long-term future of Dallas Goedert? And does this actually improve the Philadelphia Eagles passing game to get another weapon on the field like that with Jalen Hurts? I think he's actually going to benefit from having a little bit more two tight end packaging with Sadiq and Goddard out there. And who knows what the long-term future of A.J. Brown is in that city. So to me, you're adding a weapon to the passing game that really did start to go south in 2025.
Yeah, because if A.J. Brown isn't there, to tell you the truth, I don't even know how he will be there.
Yeah.
But if he's not there and the top 4 receivers are off the board, then this makes an awful lot of sense. Yeah. Could you also see if one of the receivers were still available and they do lose, of course, Brown, that they could target wide receiver too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if one of those guys falls into that range, a Carnell Tate type, because of a 40 time or someone just doesn't think he's dynamic after the catch, he could absolutely take a fall into this area in the draft. And there's a couple other wide receivers that I think are first round caliber that could fit well into what Philadelphia does.
Okay, the Cleveland Browns are up next, and we've got another offensive lineman.
Yeah, Caden Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. I mean, just the size and functional power that this guy has is second to none in this entire class. There are a lot of ugly losses on tape, but I'll tell you what, he didn't get beat a lot this year. He had an awful first week against Florida State week 1 to the point where you're like, oof, man, if this guy doesn't turn around, he's not even a first-round pick. And a lot of people thought he would be top 10. And this is kind of where we had him all year. Kind of just settled into that later first round because of the upside, the size. That Cleveland offensive line has been a disaster since Callahan left. This is the kind of offensive lineman Todd Monken wants up front. Just a little bit of development is needed. But to me, when you see him, when he's right, when he's balanced, when he knows where his feet are underneath him, you're not moving him. And he can really kind of add some personality to that offensive line. Probably a little too big to be a guard, a little too tall. But if you can figure out him and DeJuan Jones to another mammoth-sized offensive tackle, you have something to work with when they eventually get that long-term quarterback in play.
All right, Tate and Proctor, both a couple of offensive players. No big surprise there. It's all defense for the Browns. They got to do something about that offense. That's what we see so far here with round one mock. Next up, we go back to defense. John, the Chicago Bears definitely need some defensive players, and this is the direction you believe they're going to go?
Are we skipping the Rams and Houston?
25 Bears. We're
on the Bears at 25?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay. All right. Yeah. The Bears need their defense was inconsistent all year, and they could use somebody at every level, and every level had its problems. But there was also flashes of really great play. I think, a lot of people say edge for the Bears, and I'm thinking more inside, but they could take an edge guy. But they've got two guys I think are pretty good playing on the edge. They could use some depth there for sure, but they need help on the interior. And so McDonald, looks like the best player. Caden McDonald is a guy that he's big, he's physical, he flashes lateral movement. Sometimes he runs out of gas a little bit, and sometimes he doesn't play with a great pad level. But when he does, he can forklift blockers, and he can make plays on the line of scrimmage. He's got pass rush potential as he can help those edge guys by collapsing the pocket with a bull rush. And I think that's, as I've said before, that's an underrated skill, an underrated talent, that if you can take up space, if you can keep those climbing blockers from getting off the double team and getting the linebackers, you can help a defense even though you're not making plays on the ball carrier. So this is a guy that's got a great club move that if he can develop some things to go with it, he can be more than just a space eater. And there's definite potential. The thing I don't like is he's got some pop and stop in him, and you see that during games. If they can get some consistency out of him and use him in a good rotation, I think he's going to be a really good football player. In a year that there's not a lot in the defensive tackles coming out, McDonald might be the best one potentially.
All right, slip back to offense. And Dave, we're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills. And this is a team we all know definitely offensively, they need a wide receiver. But this is a polarizing player. It's going to be because of his drop issues. And that's Casey Concepcion. Is a very electrifying player. But haven't they had this problem with Coleman? So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, this is a fun player to watch. I mean, he's all over the place, and he makes plays after the catch. And I agree. I mean, I don't think Keon Coleman survives what just happened in the media with the owner trashing him and, you picked him, I picked him. But to me, the team needs a new playmaker. And Joe Brady comes into this offense, and his philosophy dating back to his days at LSU, he's a Sean Payton guy as well. That's where he got his start. Is that everybody eats. They want to spread the ball out. They want to be dynamic. They don't want to rely on one guy. And Concepcion is just another piece of that puzzle. And yes, he does need to fix the drop issues, but he also adds an element as a rusher. He adds an element as a returner. And to me, he's not a number one. He's not even a number two guy. Would you really use a first round pick on that? But to me, this particular situation with Josh Allen and James Cook, and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid, they just need another weapon. And why not get a guy that can really make it happen after the catch? And that to me it's a little bit of a gamble here. And I don't know if this organization is really in gamble mode right now, but they have to try something different. They're just going to keep hitting this dead end in the playoffs unless they add more options to the playmaking component of their offense.
So this really looks like, to me, a potential trade down situation.
Could be. Yeah, we don't do the trades in the Ourlads mocks. I mean, if they really were eyeing up Concepcion, they probably could trade down a little bit. But, it's always a question of who wants to trade up for who and what are they willing to give up. So if they stay put, I don't think it's a bad value pick. I really don't. I think this guy is one of the better playmakers in the draft. He just has to clean up the mistakes.
Okay, a couple more offensive linemen off the board with the next two selections. And the San Francisco 49ers, at some point, they've got to start looking at the future at offensive tackle, and you believe that they might be able to do that in this draft.
Yeah, I've been saying for a couple of years now, Trent Williams continues to go out and just play at a high level, but he also continues to go out and miss games when they really need him towards the end of the year. And as much as I like Trent Williams, they have to start putting some plans into place. And this team has shopped at the discount store for the offensive line, and sometimes it helps and it looks great on paper initially, but once one of these guys goes down or you start to really see the upside of some of these guys, it's really impeding their offense. I mean, Christian McCaffrey had a great year, but no one really talks about how bad he was on the ground. They just had nothing to do, no space to run, no creases to get through. So Caleb Lemieux there are some elements to his game that are better than Spencer Fano, his teammate, who was the first offensive lineman taken in this mock draft. He is a guy that probably lacks the power that you want right now. So maybe he's the long-term answer at left tackle. They could have used a guy like him inside. And I do think his body control, his footwork, he could handle inside duty in that wide zone blocking scheme. He's a good enough athlete to do it. And it just gives them another option to be versatile, be multiple once those injuries pile up. Because if there's one thing about San Francisco we've gotten used to is the injuries pile up, seems to be every single year. So why not get a guy that can kind of give you some inside out flex while also hedging the left tackle position long term?
Okay, and then right back to the offensive line with the Houston Texans. No surprise they go offensive line. They did upgrade their offensive line this past season, but just barely, kind of like just patching guys in to hold over until they can find guys. The problem is the Texans have been bad at drafting linemen. So let's see if they can get some good luck here.
Yeah, Connor Lew tore his ACL in October. And, the reports that I'm reading, again, no inside information here. It looks like he's probably going to be ready for training camp, which seems a little early for a lineman. That usually those guys need closer to the year. But no matter what, they could use an interior guy. Connor Lew is a career center. Jake Andrews, I mean, give him all this respect in the world, how much injuries he played through this past season. But even when he's at his best, to me, that's the guy that you'd like to have come in. He's on your depth chart, but not as your starter. Connor Lew, his tape early in the year, it was really good. And I think that he's a week one starter if he's healthy. And you just stabilize that center, that focal point. It looks like they're going to be okay on the outside. But the interior, to me, and that's really, you could watch CJ Stroud drop back. I mean, he's just got that happy feet. He really lost some of his mojo as a pocket passer. And I think a lot of it came from the lack of confidence he had in not being able to step up in the pocket. And if you don't have guys that can anchor down his size and power and strength, that is going to be an issue for the rest of his career. They really need to fix this issue ASAP.
If Lemieux, Proctor, one of those tackles was still on the board, do you think they might go that direction?
It depends what they want to do with Titus Howard. He can play guard tackle. I like him at tackle better than I do guard. And Ursary is a guy that we liked last year. Just, he got better as the year went. I think they're okay at tackle. I think the interior needs to be the focus. Okay, next up, that's it for Dave, actually. So, John, you're going to run out the next 4 picks. And Dave, if you have to leave, we'll understand. Got about 5 minutes.
What's that?
I got about 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. So, John, let's go right to it. The L.A. Rams are back with their own pick, and you've got corner here.
Okay, well, since we're running out of time, I'm not going to talk much about the Rams other than their biggest draft need revolves around the secondary with several players set to hit free agency. Terrell has the cover skill needed to be an immediate starter. He's undersized as far as weight, but he plays bigger than he is. He's been a nickel, but he's got enough exposure to outside corner where I think he can play both. He plays both press and off man in coverage. He's a very good underneath zone defender in the slot. He's been effective blitzing from an overhang position. And one of the things I like about him, he doesn't miss tackles. He makes plays. Solid football player. I think if he was a little bigger, he'd go higher. But I think he's still a first-round talent.
Denver is next. Golday from the Cincinnati Bearcats is your selection here at linebacker.
Well, the next few picks are what you're going to see, I think, from a lot of teams that are good football teams that just are looking to upgrade possibly, and maybe some free agency is going to create a problem for them. But Golday is a guy that he's been an edge rusher most of his career. He was a situational edge rusher before transferring to Cincinnati. This is only his second year playing off the ball, but he's versatile. He's another one of those 3-down prospects that can do a lot of things. We got some metric information, 22 miles per hour GPS speed. So I don't care what he runs as far as a 40 at the combine. That's playing speed. That functional speed is tremendous as far as his ability to make plays across the field. He also has pass rush skills, so you can line him up and blitz him from an overhang spot. Similar to what they do with Hamilton at Baltimore. He's that kind of player. He's not going to play deep safety, but he will play in the box. He'll play out of the box. You can even put him on the edge and rush him and rush the passer. And I think he's going to be a solid player. He's going to be an upgrade for potential losses at free agency.
Okay, and then next up, we have the New England Patriots, the 2 Super Bowl teams. And you're going defense here, of course, at Oklahoma on the defensive line.
Well, there's other edge rushers that are considerations here, but, we happen to like our Mason Thomas. I think some of the things that are going to, knock him down possibly. He doesn't have a great big frame. He doesn't have long arms, but he's got a +5 wingspan differential, which some teams look at that a lot more than they do at the actual length of the arms, which aren't that short. But you're going to read a lot about short arms and things like that, and I think that's overplayed. He's a tremendously talented. He's got extremely fast hands, great club move, great rip move. He's a much better football player than what some people are going to say based on looking at, maybe some of the physical attributes. Good player. He can get handled once in a while. It's like everybody else. He's not real big for sure. He's 6'2", 249, but he's a good pass rusher. And he's got a chance to, I think, to be a first-round pick. If not, he's going to be a high second-day pick.
And then we wrap up with the Seattle Seahawks and cornerback at Arizona State, Keith Abney.
A lot of corners that could go here, and I know that Seattle loves corners, and they're gonna need one this year. As they're losing some guys at free agency, they got to make some big decisions there with the cap and everything. But this is a talented corner. He's got a real high IQ. One of our guys has seen him a lot out at Arizona State, and a very good man cover skills, very good in zone. Colton Hood would be another guy that could be a consideration here that we like, and so it's going to be a tough call, and we wouldn't be surprised if they went with him, but we think a lot of Abney. We think he's a really, really good football player, and we see a first round pick in this guy, even if he is the 32nd pick in the draft.
Okay, so that is going to wrap it up for our mock draft 1.0, and we'll be back with another mock draft probably next month? Do you have like a timetable of when you want to put it together? Is it after the combine? Is it when do you think?
That's John's call.
After the combine, John?
After the combine.
Okay, and of course, big week this week, East-West, the Senior Bowl's going on now. And what's next for our lads? What can the viewers be looking forward to on the website coming up? Or even on YouTube as far as videos, things of like that nature, Dave?
I mean, I think the biggest thing for the depth charts on the website is that after the Super Bowl, you will highlight who are the free agents on every team. And that's a big, I hate searching who's free agents. You go one team by one team, where I think that the depth charts, that's where you want to go to once the Super Bowl's over, that things will be highlighted who is a free agent, because then you could really start to put together what team needs are. And, John and I have spoken about putting some content out on the website with, some preliminary, nothing too in-depth team needs of like what teams might be looking for pre-free agency, which again, you really can't get into mock drafts and what teams are going to do until you know what they're going to do in free agency. That's why this time of year, it's kind of just, you're kind of throwing something against the wall and you hope it sticks. But, the
mock drafts, I guess are just fun right now.
That's
but they're not very meaningful. There's still a lot of evaluation to do. We don't know what the team needs are going to be. A lot of things are going to change. The website will have lists of free agents. It will be on there too, so you'll be able to find that. The intriguing prospects article that we always put in the guide is something we're going to have a series of articles on that. We'll have the first one coming out in February, and then we'll probably do 2 or 3 more, and then the big one will be in the guide.
All right. So stay tuned for all that. Bottom line is just check us out here. Obviously, subscribe, like, share, all that really fun stuff because you want to be here. This is the best place to be all the way through to the NFL draft. And again, don't forget the Ourlads 2026 draft will be out within the next couple of months. So subscribe, hit the link in the description area of this video, and check out the YouTube channel Ourlads. And we're going to have a lot of videos between now and the draft. And also check out my videos when I interview our team analysts. Matter of fact, tonight I'll be interviewing Jason Sarney from Dolphins Wire on the Miami Dolphins. So check that out. We'll be doing all 32 of those real soon to wrap up, definitely way before the NFL draft. So guys, appreciate it. Look forward to doing this again right after the combine.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
See you next